Welcome to Margot's show. My name is Mila and I am the host. And today I would like to introduce you a famous person who actually doesn't need introduction, but still, Artem Miralevich, a well-established New York-based and award-winning artist. Hi Artem, how are you?
Good, thank you. Glad and honored to be here this evening.
Well, I'm glad and honored to have a nice conversation with you as well, especially after watching a documentary about you, which sparked my interest. So can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, the documentary came, well, first I met this wonderful young documentary filmmaker named Tara, who's originally from Thailand and recently moved to New York. And apparently she got inspired by my story, just story of being a New York-based artist.
I was inspired too by your story, actually.
Well, thank you. So, we filmed the documentary over 4 to 5 month period, mostly in New York City. And then parts of it were also filmed in Thailand, where I traveled later. And the documentary was then edited and released about a month ago by Tara. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Creators High. You can just Google my name, Artem Miralevich, and Creators High. I think it will come right up. And to be honest with you, it was a very interesting experience because it wasn't the movie that I commissioned. It was a real documentary where I met the director who got interested in my story and was really looking into it and sometimes posing uncomfortable questions, which I had to dig into myself to answer. And
which one? Tell me at least example of one question like that.
I mean, it was like what really makes you tick, what makes you work, what makes you who you are, but not in such a broad sense. You know, once we got into the nit and grit of it, you know, it was, I just remember thinking that it was like, it wasn't that, you know, sometimes it wasn't that easy. It was really, you know, made me look into myself, but then again made me get on a higher level, you know, get to the next step of realization who I am, what my path is, you know, and what this life is all about, you know.
I was just so surprised how well done the documentary is. It's just such a great summary of your life. I think it's very well done. Bravo to editing as well. So that was really, really cool.
Well, thank you. Well, all the credit goes to Tara, you know, and I was also very pleasantly surprised. I think it came out really good, and I mean, the only contribution I did, other than being the main character of the movie, I suggested that she interview some of my friends, some of my colleagues, some of my collectors, so that she just gets better, and you know, I just passed on the context to her, you know.
What stick with me in that documentary is about your vision in your artwork. So can you please tell us, I mean, you're a famous artist, and
oh, thank you.
Your paintings really amazing, but where people can find them? Do you have a studio?
Yeah, I have a studio. I have a studio in New York, in Queens, on the border of Long Island City in Astoria. It's on 34th Street. Well, you can find most of my artwork online.
Wow, 34th Street. Well, you're a Manhattan guy too.
Well, it's actually funny because I have my own studio in Queens, which is on the address is 34th Street, and then I have a studio that I share with my friends and colleagues in Manhattan, and it's on 32nd Street.
Do you realize how successful you are to have a studio in Manhattan?
Well, yeah, it's a blessing, and it was a long path, you know. But it's actually not my first studio in Manhattan. I had a studio in Tribeca back in 2007, and then a studio in Soho in 2009, And then I also shared the
Amazing.
studio with my Burning Man friends and artists in 2013. But once again, yes, I'm lucky and fortunate to have friends, to have collectors, to have partners with whom I'm able to work and achieve greatness together.
So next exhibition will be in September, right?
Yeah, my next
Where
exhibition
people
is
should go for
in
that?
September. All the information will be on my website, which is artemart.com. It's artemart.com. So my name, Artem, then art.com. Usually in September I do solo shows to kind of show what I've been doing through the summer. But this time it's going to be a two-artist show. I'll be featuring my first teacher in the United States, Bonnie Layden, who was my teacher in Buffalo, New York State. I went to Sweet Home High School there before I went to School of Visual Arts in New York.
Did you? School of Visual Arts?
Yeah. Actually, thanks to my first teacher, Bonnie Layden, I was able to get into School of Visual Arts and get my scholarship. So she put me on my path to greatness.
Congrats.
And I felt like it was time to, pay back some in an artistic way. So I invited Mrs. Layden to participate in the exhibit, and she gladly accepted. And I'm actually very proud of the fact that she accepted, because she wasn't painting much for the last 10 years. She was terribly sick with arthritis. And as she told me last week, actually, when I visited Buffalo in her studio to choose the artwork for the upcoming exhibition, the fact that I invited her to do an exhibition was what motivated her to produce works, and that was really heartwarming. So
That's really heartwarming, really.
Yeah, it is,
Thanks so
yeah.
much for caring for people, and you're caring a lot for environment too. Tell me about your project, Art Cosmo.
yeah, Art Cosmos is the well, I'm an artist and curator. I wear my artist hat. I'm just in my studio painting and then showcasing my artwork. When I wear my curator's hat, I reach out to other artists, organizations, and put together shows and exhibits. Art Cosmos is a project that's been going on for a few years. It's a platform where I put artists and scientists together, and each year is dedicated to a different theme. This year, and actually probably I'm going to take a pause till the end of this year, but in 2019, I'm looking to put together a big show with some friends of mine from United Nations and some other art organizations and other non-profit organizations, and it's going to be dedicated to water and drinking water and ocean and clean ocean.
I know you're really concerned about those issues.
Yeah, I think everybody should be, I mean, if we're not even talking about the future of the Earth, we're talking about the present day Earth. I mean, you go to any beach, you find plastic, I can go on and on and on. All I can say about the subject matter is that you don't have to wait for your government or your appointed officials to do anything. You can just make your own personal choices. Shop in supermarkets that don't use plastic bags, etc., etc. Just make smart choices about what you do with your plastic in your life, and that's a very important step that anybody can take.
But in terms of your painting, how are you putting that aspect of your creative career into your painting?
Well, I mean, in my painting, it's always present. I guess there's always a bit of, not always, but there's a bit of post-apocalyptic theme in my paintings, but it's always with an optimistic outlook on things. So I think we're now in this pre-apocalyptic stage, which hopefully will not turn into post-apocalyptic. And my paintings are more, I guess, they're not directly talk about politics and social problems, but it's more metaphorical and indirect, kind of mythical realism. But I definitely tackle those issues. I mean, Tree of Life was a big and still is a big series of my artwork. Sunken City speaks directly about reality affected by global warming and
That's
other.
amazing.
And yeah.
So this is not your only one project. I would like to hear a little bit more about some other projects you undertake.
Yeah, so many. But one of the most important right now, it's actually...
Choose three.
Choose three, okay. The most important is Book of Doors.
Okay.
It's the project. It's actually a call for action and collaboration to all aspiring authors and poets and writers out there. So if you're an aspiring author or poet, doesn't matter if you're published or not, you are invited to participate in my Book of Doors project. So I pre-selected about 55 of my artworks, divided into 5 themes. Each theme reflects a certain period of my artistic career, and also in a certain period of human development, so to speak.
Oh my God! So what is that?
Well, you can find more information online at artemart.com, artemart.com, or on my Facebook profile, or my Instagram profile.
Easier for people.
That's easier for people. And so, for example, if you write, you are also invited to partake. So you're free to choose any.
I will.
Okay, you're free to choose from 1 to 5 artworks that you're inspired by, and write a short story or a poem, no more than 500 words. Then you send us back your story.
Microsoft Word will help me.
Yes, for sure. And I actually have 3 judges, 3 professional authors, published authors, who will be reading through the submissions. The best submissions will be selected to be printed in a hardcover book, which would be called Book of Doors. So each page is like a door into different dimension, presented by a different author. So we're looking to have as many as 50 authors collaborators. So it's a real group project. You know?
Will it be like your paintings and then underneath the description, some kind of mix?
Well, the description will be the story that the author writes, and it's totally right up to you what you write about, as long as it's related to the image. You know, so basically be an image and a story next to it, then the next page is another image and another story next to it.
I think I should learn how to write properly.
Okay, well, I think all you have to do is get inspired, and maybe the words will come pouring out of you, you know.
That's a momentum. Second project, please.
Second project. Well, actually, speaking of the space on Broadway, the one on Broadway and 32nd Street, the space in Manhattan, which is called Baza. That's my second most important project, and it's done in collaboration once again with a group of my dear friends and talented artists in their own way. So I have a group of partners, and we rented this 5,000 square foot loft space in Manhattan.
5,000 square foot.
Yeah, so we have it.
Huge.
It is a huge space, and we have it for the next 5 years. And we rented it with an intent of creating a new art movement, just a new movement in New York. But it's also a commercial space, because as you can imagine, it's very expensive. So during the day, we use it as
I cannot even imagine
No, you
5,000
can't.
square foot in the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah, and we took about half a year to make it look like what it looks like now, which is our sense of design and artistic vision. And you're more than welcome to it. We have monthly events, which which we catered. I just had my art opening there last month, which was actually well attended. So thank you for everybody who came. So we're looking. So that space is used for photo shoots and video shoots during the day. It's actually a rental space. Anybody can rent it during the day. During the evening, it's usually rented for private events, like for gallery, presentations, etc., etc. And then, like I said, at least monthly, we use it to do some kind of presentation of our own.
Will you put that on your Facebook, the upcoming event?
Absolutely, yeah. It's always.
That will be very helpful.
All the information is usually on Facebook and also on my website, which is sometimes easier to navigate to because I tend to post a lot of stuff on Facebook. Yeah. So Baza is my second project, I guess. And the third one, well, the third one is upcoming. Well, the new season is coming up. You know, now it's the end of August, and in September the art season starts again. So I have this show. I'm planning a show with Mrs. Layton in September.
Oh.
Then I'm the one that I told you about. Then I'm planning my solo show in October in New York, and I guess the show that it's being planned right now that's really interesting, but I can't really talk about it much yet, but I'll give you some hints. I'm doing a solo show with a psychiatrist, psychiatrist and psychologist, actually, both, where for the last 2 years, one of the projects that I've been doing in my art studio is doing a lot of collages, most of which are based on my travels. When I travel, I collect a lot of basically all the maps and all the tickets and all the postcards. Then I use that to make collages, and in the last 2 years I made about 40 collages, out of which about 25 will be selected by this doctor, who will write her description for each artwork, and it will be presented in the museum. So it's an upcoming big museum show, but this is all I can say about it at this point.
And this is what impressed me about you. You're not only artist, you really care about society. I mean, the environmental troubles and some kind of mental issue, because psychology is involved in certain mental issues for people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated by psychology, and I mean, Jung, and he's one of my favorite psychologists, and I mean, how can you? I mean, I'm a part of the society,
Well, art is a therapy, right? For a lot of people, it is just a therapy.
Absolutely, and for me as well. It's a way sometimes to escape reality. Sometimes it's a way to bring my reality into, or bigger reality into this reality. Sometimes it's a way to speak about things that can be verbalized in a way that it can be visually expressed. So it's a definite tool of self-expression, and in that way it definitely helps you to broaden your psyche and to relate it to the rest of the society.
I travel a lot, and when I look at some of your paintings, they're just so deep, portraying all those traveling experience. For example, all the temples and Angkor Wat, and I know you have some paintings with that.
Oh yeah. Well, I just traveled to Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia in February of this year, and it just so happened to be that I've met with my documentary film director Tara there, where we spent some time. But yeah, it's funny because as a lot of my colleagues know, I've been painting those trees, those Cambodian trees growing out of Cambodian.
I saw that.
Yeah, I've been painting that for years. So some of the people said, listen, we finally have a picture of you in your painting. When I posted those pictures, and it's one of the most fascinating places that I've been to is Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and Thailand also made a very, very positive impression on me.
Do you have any in your book of drawings or anything?
Yeah, well, I always carry my sketchbook with me.
Yeah, that's amazing. You should see that book.
Yeah, I don't know. Should I? Well, this is actually from my European sailing trip.
Oh wow!
That was last summer. I spent 2 weeks sailing.
All of them really deep, really, really deep.
And then I take notes and I just sketch stuff. Actually, much less now that I use a.
When they say you need to have a book for your dream, I think this is your book for your paintings, right?
Well, yep, I guess so.
Wow.
I guess, yeah. It's your
she's
portrait.
so pretty. It's a portrait. You do a lot of portraits too, right?
Yes, I love humans and I love catching them on paper. Yes.
So whatever you have inspiration, you just take in this cute notebook and you just draw.
Yeah, this is from my latest. Actually, my girlfriend and I went to Cuba.
Oh my God, I've been there too.
Yeah, this is actually her notes from Cuba.
Wow, isn't it amazing?
So that's.
So what is that, Valparaiso?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, here you go. Oh wow, that's not Cuba.
No, that was actually, we got stuck while we were sailing, and I just did this motor, the reason why. So it's kind of like a visual diary,
It's so nice. They're very organized, actually.
That's
I would
my
imagine the
girlfriend,
book of the artist, just sketches everywhere, crossing.
Well, that happens to. Oh, actually, here I have another thing that I would like to brag about. My art was just on the cover of this poetry book that just got published a few weeks ago. And yeah, unfortunately, here.
Let me show. Look at guys. This is actually the art cover of Artem on a book. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like a cosmic
Love.
travel through cosmic love. Okay.
Yeah. It's actually one of the two. There's actually two artworks in that cycle. Well, this is Cosmic Love 1. See, the girl is flying in with the parachute with birds. and the guy has a boat, and on the second one they're together. So,
Oh,
well, the second one is to be featured in the next book, I guess.
we will see it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, who are your clients? I mean, you have so just spread out, kind of.
Well, I have clients and I have collectors. Sometimes it's the same thing. Sometimes it's like, for example, this was a client, because this was a publishing house that needed a cover for the book, and they actually found me, and we found and came to an agreement, and the book was published. And that's kind of usual client-artist relationship. You get some kind of commission, and then you fulfill the commission, and you get paid. I also worked for Natasha and Pierre, the Comet of 1812. The Broadway show that got a lot of. They got a bunch of Tony Awards. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
So, and the clients, I worked for a Sony record label and actually at some point for National Geographics. But also I have a lot of collectors, people who just love the art that I create for myself, and then they buy it either from my studio or a gallery or art fair. I guess among the clients that you could know about, there's John Walsh. He's the
really?
Yeah,
Did he?
He's the host of America's Most Wanted, and I'm sure a bunch of other TV shows at this point. Yeah, he bought a few paintings. He's actually a fascinating person. His daughter is also a painter, and she does fashion right now, I think. Also, Alex Rothman is a good client of mine. He's I don't know if Robert Rothschild.
Wow, those are big names.
Boris Reiselman, who's a collector and a friend who's in trading in Moscow. And actually, my artwork is in a lot of museum collections as well. It's in the Museum of Tolerance in Moscow, the Third Temple Museum in Jerusalem, a few other museums in Russia, in the United States.
I told you guys, this is well-established New York-based artist.
Yeah, it's actually in Asia, in London, and in Rome.
Well, you participate in Art Basel in Miami.
Yeah, actually planning on participating again this year. It's not clear where and when at this point, but I think we'll get solved by early September. I'll know exactly.
Figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, Mm-hmm.
Well, and probably you are artist, curator, and you are a traveler. What are your future trips to?
Well, my future trips are I'm planning on traveling to Sicily in October.
My God.
There's a Manifesta art fair going on there, and I'm also meeting with a few friends of mine.
Which city?
Palermo.
I did the round trip around Sicily.
Yeah. All right, and then I'm meeting up with a friend of mine, actually my former college mate from Amsterdam. And we're gonna probably sail around Sicily a little bit, with a few friends and a girlfriend. And then in December, I'm going to Miami for Art Basel, Miami Art Basel. And early next year, I'm going to India for a series of art lectures and art residency.
What is that word, art residency?
Art residency is kind of like paid travel for artists.
How cool is that? I want to do that too.
Okay, so
Will
basically,
you take me in your suitcase?
Okay, maybe. Yeah, you can be my model, maybe. Yeah, all right.
Perfect. I will agree with that.
Okay, so basically you get a studio and art supplies, and basically get space to create, and with some kind of program on top of that. Like in India, I'll be doing lectures. Sometimes you're being lectured. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes you collaborate with other artists, which I think will be the case this time as well. So it's always great because, for me at least, it broadens your horizons. It allows you to collaborate with other artists. It opens up the culture of the country they travel to, and you're not a tourist. You're kind of on the inside, because you spend time with locals in a local environment, and then you
see the country through the eyes of locals.
Exactly, and then you hang out with local artists and other artists that come from other places like you, like other resident artists. It's such a great experience. I did art residency in France, in Russia, in Spain, in Barcelona. and a few other countries, but really looking forward to doing it in India, you know?
Oh, that's a very different culture.
Yeah.
And I think you just bring in your culture towards it.
Absolutely. Like, for example, I just did, it wasn't really an art residency, but it was sort of art residency slash museum slash culture trip in Kazakhstan.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it was just actually, 2 months ago, yeah. So I was invited by a Minister of Culture of Kazakhstan to represent the United States in the 20th anniversary of their capital, Astana. I was among 20 other artists from 20 other countries. So there was artists from London, artists from Rome, from Brazil, from Russia. So there were, from India, there were 20 countries represented by 20 artists. And each was invited to get inspired by Astana, by Kazakhstan. Then we were provided with art studios, where we created artwork related to Astana. Most of the artworks were actually purchased by the government of Kazakhstan and shown in the National Museum. So we were there for the opening of the museum. We had a great dinner with the Minister of Culture. It was a very authentic and really well-organized trip. I must say that the government of Kazakhstan and the people of Kazakhstan were treating us really well. It was really professional, very inspiring. People are very warm, very welcoming, and it was overall a great experience.
You know, Artem, we just cannot catch up with you, really. We just need to drag you, put it in New York, and look at your paintings.
Well, that's why I'm based in New York. Actually, speaking of New York, I have an ongoing exhibition right now at the consulate of Belarus. As you probably know, I'm originally from Minsk, Belarus, and I'm actually very glad and grateful to my own country and to our consul and our new consul, Victor, for providing this great opportunity for myself.
We will see you there. Thank you so
right.
much for being with us, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see each other on Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
So, was it? Подожди, it's a break, right? Oh. Are we done? It's been 20 minutes? Well, I can talk a lot.
It was good.
Well done.
It flowed.
Better.